Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we are going to be talking about our scouting prospects. And I'm going to be revolving around Mikayil Faye, then talk about Arda Guler, and then lastly talk about Fabricio Daz. We have already signed one player out of these three players, and the other two players, which is Fabricio Daz and Guler, these are two players that Barcelona are currently eyeing. They're not like huge prospects, they're not like huge targets for the summer, but I think that if Barcelona want to invest in the project that they are building, these two players can really complement our project. Because yes, we have a great starting 11, yes, we do have a great group of young players, but we need players that can back our main 11. Like, what if Pedri does get injured again? What if Alejandro Balde does get injured again? What if Araujo or Gavi ever gets injured again? We need young, strong players as the second options for our main group. And so for today, coincidentally enough, the two players, which is Arda Guler and Fabricio Daz, one is going to be able to cover Pedri's position and the other one is going to be able to cover Sergio Busquets' position. And also we can also say Frankie de Jong's position. But the player that I firstly want to talk about, which is going to be the player that we have signed, it is Mikayil. So Barcelona have already paid the 1.5 to 5 million euros for this center back here. He is going to be considered as a Barcelona athletic player, so he will be in the B team first, and we'll see how he does perform, because I have heard that Xavi Hernandez is going to be keeping a close eye on this center back, because we are going to be having a very long preseason and we are going to be playing against very interesting teams like Real Madrid, Juventus, and other top European clubs, which would be the perfect opportunity to test out our young prospects. And Mikayil is going to be one of them. He already passed the medical test and everything is already set. And I remember like a few days ago, there were so many clubs out there that were willing to pay top dollar for Mikayil. Like for example, Chelsea were really keeping an eye on this center back, but he decided to join Barcelona because he thinks that Barcelona is the club of his life and he wants to be here for a very long time. So there's a lot to look forward to with this next center back. Now, if you guys do not know who this player is, he is a left-footed center back. So you guys can already see where we're going here. He can be, if he does well, the potential replacement in the future of Andreas Christensen, because right now we don't really have a next left center back in our squad. We just don't. Like, yeah, we have Marcos Alonso and maybe we also signed Inigo Martinez, but those two players are like in their 30s and we need the next big thing, and this player again could be it. It does say here, according to Mundo Deportivo, that Mikayil Faye convinced Barcelona in April. The Barcelona scouts were speechless because they were also delighted. Faye has everything. He has the pace, a great ball output with his left foot, and he can jump very high and he does not lose balls, which is very true. Like, if you look at how he has been playing in the past 9 to 10 months, he's very strong on 1v1 duels, like very strong. It really does remind you of who Araujo was 2 years ago. He's also very aggressive. He's not a player that goes like out of control and like tries to foul some player or likes to just be very aggressive and that's it. He's aggressive but with good timing, so he's always good and always 2 steps ahead. Again, a lot of this and how he does play currently, it really does remind me of how Araujo was back in 2019 and how we were talking about this player. Now, the good thing about this player and what makes him different to Araujo is that he's actually very good on the ball, and that's what gets everybody so excited, is that like, you know, like, okay, this player is great at defending, but at the age of just 18 years old, the fact that he's able to control the ball, clean plays, is so fascinating, and that's very much Barcelona material. Now, obviously, every center back, and especially when you're just 18 years old, right, there are going to be some weaknesses, but there are weaknesses that you could correct. For example, he's not really good at defending long air balls. Like, when he does have to face those long balls, he does end up miscalculating, very similar to what we saw with Eric Garcia earlier in the previous season, how he made many mistakes on timing his headers when the ball was in the air and it was a long ball and he couldn't reach the ball in the air. Sometimes this player Faye does this, but again, it could be corrected. It's really going to be dependent on how fast this player does end up learning. So again, at just the age of 18 years old, this is very normal. Sometimes we also do see him be a little too aggressive. He likes to step in knowing that there's a player behind him that is being unmarked and he's not really thinking in that specific sequence, and he ends up just exposing his team. But like I've said, all of these errors can be very correctable, and especially if you're coached by Xavi Hernandez and the rest of the defensive staff. We all know how great they have done with our current defense, like Alejandro Balde, Araujo, Christensen, and Jules Koundé. They can teach the exact same things and philosophies to this defender here throughout the next 6 to 7 months. And so again, Barcelona were scouting this player. They have achieved his signing. He is officially a Barcelona player, so I do see this as an absolute win. Now moving on towards the next player, and that is going to be Arda Guler. Now this was going to be very interesting, and I want to get straight into the point on who this player is, because I want us to have context on where he could play. So he is 18 years old. He does play in Turkey. He is an attacking midfielder. He's left-footed, has a release clause until 2025, and in the previous season he ended up scoring 6 goals and provided 7 assists as an attacking midfielder in the Turkish league. We all know how tough the Turkish league actually is. Like, physically they're very tough, and for a player like him at just 18, scoring 6 goals and 7 assists, that's very, very amazing. Now, this is again a player that Barcelona are just eyeing. They have not tried to communicate with this player. He's not a top target, but I think that if we can bring this player in, it would be an awesome recruitment. Now, Fabrizio Romano has stated that his release clause is going to be 17.5 million euros. I think that this is probably one of the best investments we could make. Yes, it's very expensive, but for a good reason. If anything, it would be the steal of the summer if we can get him for this amount. Because look, he's a massive talent. His technical ability is amazing. His football intelligence is like well beyond his current age. And so think of this player as like, I would say, how Collado does like to play and how we saw him back in the B team. He's great at ball retention. He's great in dribbling in tight spaces. He's very creative. And again, if you can be very creative in the Turkish league where they're very physical, you do have talent. Now, in the team that he does play for, which is Fenerbahce, that team usually plays in a 4-4-2 formation and also in a 4-1-3-2 most of the time. They usually do place Guler on the right wing, like as a right winger. So for example, he could be in that 4-man midfield, but on the right side, or be in the 4-1-3-2 formation, and he is in the 3 attacking midfielders, but he is on the right side. So he's very much kind of like a Dembele type of player in terms of the position. But again, he is a player who also enjoys to invert himself, very similar to Lamine Yamal. And this is where things get very exciting, right? Because I think that if we want to build, again, our next big team, and we want to have young prospects everywhere, young great prospects in every position, it would be great to see Lamine Yamal and also Arda Guler competing for the right wing position, because I just think that that is where Arda would play. Like, yes, I know that he could play in Pedri's position, but I just feel like he would be placed in that position based off what Xavi does need. And yes, I also do think that Lamine Yamal and Arda Guler are very much different profiles, which is exactly what Barcelona need. They need 2 different profiles to be very unpredictable against certain opponents. I would say that Arda is more powerful in dribbles, while Lamine Yamal is more powerful in making through balls. So Arda likes to get through ways where he can dribble through certain players. Lamine Yamal likes to get through certain ways to make a through ball and kill about 2 or 3 opposition players in just one pass. Very different profiles. Very interesting. Also, you can even see here that Guler, if you were to compare him to Dembele, Rafinha, and Lamine Yamal, who are all current options for Xavi's Barcelona in the right wing position right now, Guler is the most defensive one. So this is also another very interesting thing about Guler, is that he's amazing defensive. Look at that defensive duels per 90. He does have a 7.59 defensive duels per 90, while the other players like Dembele has a 4.44 and Rafinha has a 5.52. Again, this is great context because we know how great Rafinha is defensively and how much he likes to defend. Look at how Guler is one-upping Rafinha in this context. So I'm convinced that this player can play in Pedri's position, fully convinced, but I just think that he has too much technical power to not be playing on the right side. And so this would obviously be the steal of the summer if Barcelona can get him for 18 million euros, I would say. And so moving on towards the last player, which is going to be Fabricio Daz, a player that we have already discussed in this YouTube channel. This is going to be another investment that I think that Barcelona should really make. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but look, Fabricio Daz could be costing around 8 million euros, maybe even 9 million euros, worst case scenario. And if you combine that cost with the amount that Guler does cost, which is 17.5, and let's just say worst case scenario, 18 million euros, we would be spending around 27 to, I would just say, again, worst case scenario, 28.5 million euros in this summer on 2 young players that would give you a lot for the next upcoming years. So going back to the conversation of Fabricio Daz, if you want to talk about the next replacement of Sergio Busquets, the closest player that I would say that could replace Busquets is this one. He is a 20-year-old defensive midfielder who can play as a lone pivot, way better than Frankie, way better than Zubimendi, way better than many other players out there like Kimmich and also Amrabat, and he currently does play for Liverpool FC. Not Liverpool from the English league, but Liverpool in Uruguay. He plays in the Uruguayan league. And what fascinates me the most about Fabricio Daz is that he had a great performance in the Under-20 World Cup, and I'm going to be showing you guys just a short video on how this player likes to captain Uruguay and what he did during this World Cup campaign.
Ahora hay que salir, hay que jugar, hay que divertirse, hay que disfrutar, hay que tener responsabilidad, respeto por el rival, todo eso, muchachos. Eso lo tenemos más que claro. Lo que no podemos negociar es la entrega. Hoy tenemos 90 minutos para estar en una final del mundo, viejo. ¿Qué más lindo? No hay nada más lindo que esto. Quizás no tengamos otra, no se sabe. Pero hoy estamos acá. Hoy tenemos que hacernos responsables de esto. Tenemos todo un país atrás de nosotros. Ya vimos cómo está el entorno, ¿eh? ¿Qué más lindo? Nada más, muchachos. Desearle suerte a todos. Que dejen la vida. Le pido eso nomás. Dejen la vida, que vamos a salir, vamos a ganar y nos vamos a ir todos contentos. ¡Vamos!
And so if you saw that video, you can just really see the excitement and the fire that he does have. He's a born leader, right? And that's so necessary in this current Barcelona team. If you can bring leadership like that, we're going to be already one step ahead. Like just listen to him. Like that was just something that is just, again, fascinating. And he's only 20 years old. And so on that night between Uruguay and Italy, when they were playing in that under 20 World Cup, his performance was again amazing. He had 1 key pass, 3 interceptions, 3 crosses, and had a 79% successful rate in effective passes. So he was a top performer in that final. So I do think that if we want to invest in the next Sergio Busquets replacement, this player should be one of our options. And yes, we can still sign players like Joshua Kimmich, because look, Fabricio Daz also does not cost like 50 million euros. Now he did cost cheaper. Like a few months ago, he did cost around 6 million euros, but because of his performance in the World Cup, which is again under 20, not the actual World Cup, the senior World Cup, his value still went high, which was a total of 2 million euros, which is why now it's 8 million euros. And again, just like that video, right? He begins to win matches before even entering the field, and he talks to motivate his teammates. And we can also see a few videos here, very Busquets-like. You guys will know exactly what I mean when we look at these videos. Just look at how he plays, right? He's always constantly scanning for spaces. And, you know, before we go even further in this video, I also do want to thank the creator of the man who highlighted this video and also created this video, because you can see that this video is obviously very edited. So again, I want to shout out the creator of this video. You can find him on Twitter. I'm also going to be leaving his name on there because I don't want to take anything away from him. But yes, he's great at scanning spaces, and that is what allows any pivot to make faster and more accurate decisions. So you can see here that he's passing the ball to one of the players, they pass it back to him, and then he finds another player out wide and switches play. It's just, again, it's amazing. And here's going to be another fun fact. His progression has been so real that he's been playing in the first division for Liverpool in Uruguay since he was 16 years old, and he has already made more than 100 appearances for his club. So he has been very useful between the age of 16 to 20 years old, and he's going to continue to be useful. I think that with all that experience that he has gained in the past 4 to 5 years, it's just something that I think that has built him into what he's currently is today, which is the captain of the under 20 Uruguayan national team. So those are going to be the 3 players that I think that Barcelona have prospect and should be prospecting in the future. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about any other player, like for example Prestiani, maybe Vanderson or Ryan Vitor. Any of those players, again, if you guys are interested in any of those young players, just include them in the comment sections down below, and then I'll write a review on those players and then make the video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.